All right, are we ready? Now that Representative Young is here, we can start. We got a whole row for you, Stephanie. We are today continuing to move forward in our effort to bring down violence in this city. We had, as you know, excellent results in 2023, the fewest homicides since the 1960s. We have seen in the first 6 months of this year another 20% reduction in homicides and shootings, but this city remains much too violent. But what we have learned is that the fastest way to bring down gun violence is to do two things at once: have an outstanding police department and law enforcement strategy, and have an outstanding community violence intervention strategy where those groups that have the strongest relationship with the neighborhoods are given the resources to prevent the violence. And where that has happened, we've seen the violence reduce the fastest. You know that a year ago we started with six, welcome speaker, 6 groups that we call Shotstoppers. And they were funded through April or July of 2025 with President Biden's American Rescue Plan money, and our concern was what we were going to do after that. I'm really pleased that Representative Alibas Farhat sponsored a bill, along with Rep. Nate Shannon, and a huge supporter, supported by Speaker Joe Tate, to create something called the Public Safety Trust Fund, to take revenue sharing money and put it into the cities with the highest crime rates to both enhance law enforcement and to support prevention efforts. And that bill got through the House, it's through the Senate committee, it's on the Senate floor right now. And I hope it'll get adopted in September. But it also needed to be funded. And in the session that ended up at 5:30 in the morning a couple of days ago, the legislature funded it for $75 million. And we have the folks who made that possible, most notably Angela Whitmer, who has fought tooth and nail for us, and Tyrone Carter. You're going to get a chance to hear from them. But because that passed, we feel like we are in a position now to move on expanding our ShotStoppers program. We're operating now in 6 neighborhoods. We want to do 2 more. And so this is a day that's a call out to those groups in the city who are most networked into our young people. The last time I did this, I basically said the groups can propose their own plan. We know a year later what's working and what's not working. What's not working is sticking a yellow bubble on top and having CB patrols. They may have value, but they are not driving down the violence. What is driving down the violence are the groups that are doing the hard work to be in the high schools, to be in the neighborhoods, having face-to-face conversations. We just had 4 members that our CVI groups are working with just won Motor City Match. They're starting their own businesses. What our CVI groups are doing is going to these young folks who may be on the wrong side of the law or are close to people on the wrong side of the law, saying, there are great opportunities in Detroit, and we're here to help you deal with what you've dealt with in the past, but to build a new future. We've seen 30 to 70% reduction in violence in the areas that they have operated. And so it's a little bit complicated. It won't be official till the Senate acts in September, but we wanted to start the process because we want to have new groups on the streets in Detroit by October 1st. So next week, we will be putting out proposals. You have to show a track record of dealing with young people, dealing with at-risk groups, and show us that you can provide the kind of role model and guidance to change the direction. We're going to make, you're going to have until August to submit your plans, which means you tell us your neighborhood, you tell us the groups, and you tell us your plan. We will pick them in September, and assuming we get the public safety bill through the Senate in September, October 1st, we want to have more CVI groups working in more neighborhoods. And some of the groups here, let me ask the groups who are operating today if you'd stand up. Okay? They have been phenomenal. Every week they get a report card on the number of shootings in each of their areas, and there's no complaining. They're doing the hard work. So thank you all very much for what you've done. I know they will help recruit other folks who are like them to pick up other areas of the city, and we are just going to keep going. This city remains much too violent, and we are not going to stop until we have these kinds of prevention programs in every area of the city that's still a hot spot. So it is a great day today. I want to start by bringing up the legislators who made this possible. They're the reason we're standing here today. And so I'll ask them all to come up, but Speaker Joe Tate, who's my rep, Detroit's guardian angel, Angela Whitmer, and come on up, Rep Carter and Rep Young and Rep Shannon, and our sponsor, Alabas Farhat. Why don't you come up? Oh, and Senator Sylvia Santana, please. Come on up here and take a bow, and thank you for what you did.
Thanks, everyone, for having me. This is the greatest city, in my view, in America, and I'm lucky to be here, proud to stand with all of my colleagues, especially our great Speaker of the House who led the charge with all of this. We just need to stop for a second and celebrate all of the wins that we've had in the past 2 years, actually, for Detroit and for our great state. From Motown Museum to the sidewalks in all of our neighborhoods to safety. We've been trying really hard, and we've been succeeding in supporting all of what we need in our communities, and especially here in Detroit. We're here today to celebrate the biggest win for the state, our biggest investment ever in our hometowns, the most transformational thing that we've done in our state in decades. 2 years ago, the Detroit Mayor, Mike Duggan, he paired up, like he said, with our great speaker, and he fought hard, and he succeeded with our two bill sponsors that are here today to pass Public Safety Trust Fund. Speaker Tate and I worked alongside the Detroit caucus. The Detroit chair is here, Rep Carter, in fighting for the biggest investment in our communities. The state budget was voted out this past week and sectioned off ongoing dollars to create the Public Safety and Violence Prevention Fund. Before this, there were no dollars dedicated to public safety, just for public safety. And this will address public safety and the violence prevention initiatives that we need to have in our communities. Detroit and all of the state now can plan for the future of their departments with predictable revenue and have the confidence and stability to use these funds to hire more law enforcement personnel and have new community violence intervention programs. No longer will our cities and our great city of Detroit be at the mercy of a sometimes volatile state appropriations process each year in order to build public safety in our cities. I'm proud to say that our work has paid off, and our communities will reap the security, and that work will be all to benefit all of our residents here. Thank you again for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. I love standing next to our reps. These are great friends, and I will introduce one of the bill sponsors. Along with Rep Shannon is Representative Farhat, a really great representative that we have we're blessed to be able to work with.
You know, to do something this big took a lot of people at the table to make it happen. Notably, our partners in CVI didn't just make the fight in the streets where they needed to be there to prevent violence, but they went to Lansing with us. And they stood shoulder to shoulder, lobbying legislators, lobbying the appropriators, lobbying in the halls of our state to make sure we brought this money back. And I can't help but mention the folks at New Era, at Force Detroit, at the Detroit People Community, Detroit 300, Detroit Friends and Family for showing up and doing that work. To them, the state owes you a great deal of debt, because this program is going to go beyond just Detroit. Today we're celebrating Detroit, but this is a statewide initiative that we have established together because of the leadership, though, that started here in Detroit. with the mayor, with our great Speaker of the House, with our Detroit Caucus Chair, Tyrone Carter, and our Appropriations Chair, Angela Whitmer. This is going to have a long-lasting impact here. For now, and then until times change, people are going to be able to count on millions of dollars coming back home, coming to their neighborhoods, making it safe for them to live. And one of the first stories I heard when I was knocking on doors, and a lady was watching her grandkids and said, I was still a candidate, said, Alabas, I'm worried to let my young one walk out in the front lawn and play without me keeping an eye on him. You know, it's not right. It's not how it should be. And that stuck with me there. And it stuck with me till one of the second or third piece of legislation I introduced was this Public Safety Trust Fund. It's to make sure that we are in the neighborhoods where the people are, and that they can feel safe letting their kids play in the streets, that they can feel safe letting their kids go to high school, and not worry about negative influences taking them down a path that'll throw away years of their life. And I'll compound it with another story. When I thought it was bleak and it was tough to get this done, I was at a neighborhood meeting in Warrendale where the gentleman sitting right here spoke about CVI work and how they would go and they'd approach young folks, and not just that one person, but they'd have that one person go back and introduce them to their network. They'd have them go back and introduce them to the people that were going down that same path and help redirect them and find meaning and purpose in a career, an investment, in entrepreneurship. And that right there is what this investment is in its people. I'm honored that we can celebrate this win today. Hopefully the Senate takes this up in September and gets the bills across the finish line. But thank you all. And I want to introduce our Detroit Caucus Chair, Representative Tyrone Carter, to say a few words.
Thank you, Al. It is afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. For me, this is more personal for three reasons. As the chair of the Detroit Caucus, I may represent my district, but we're talking about 43 square miles of city that touches everybody, every district. The other thing it touches me with is I retired from the Sheriff's Department. And I know far too often we'd have great programs. They do a wonderful job, but then the money would run out. I just left Goodwill Industries this morning, and I remember them starting Flip the Script. They have a program today where they're training people to change EV batteries and all the technology that's coming. So, and finally, as a lifelong resident, I know why people move out, because they don't feel safe. And as an officer, I know what it's like to have a great program. We went through, I hired in, and I see my former commander, Pam, we hired in, and we became the mental health hospital because they closed the Lafayette Clinic. So we've been burdened with things with no money. This will change that. This will be a dedicated source. So I don't want to hear we don't have the money anymore. That cannot be the issue. What we need is results. And not only, and I'm speaking as a Detroiter, not only will it make Detroit safe, but this will make the entire state safe. So, you know, I feel great. I'm honored to be here. And I think next up, we're going to have the person of the hour. We're in his district, Councilman Fred Durhall. Oh, okay. Well, I was looking at the sheet.
We'll get Member Durhall up here shortly. Well, good afternoon, everybody. First and foremost, just want to bring greetings from the Michigan House Democrats, and really happy and excited to see my colleagues here. As the mayor mentioned, we had a long night earlier this week, so I'm glad everyone was able to make the trip and rest up a little bit. To Mayor Duggan, thank you so much, and I know our counterpart, Senator Santana, is here as well, too, and then members of the Detroit City Council with President Sheffield, Member Waters, and also Member Durhall as well, too. First and foremost, you know, at the end of the day, House Democrats have been focused on how are we putting people first. So for the past year and a half, we've been moving legislation that has been a focus of effort has been how are we touching the residents that we serve at the end of the day. And we've done everything from expanding the earned income tax credit to doing a pension tax repeal to making major investments that in our budget, in our communities that Chair Whitmer has been leading on. But this is different when you look at the Public Safety Trust Fund. I know that we've passed common sense gun violence prevention laws earlier in the legislative session, but we knew that there was more that needed to be done in our communities. Because I think everyone here, including my colleagues, but everyone in this room, they've been touched in some form or fashion by gun violence. Everybody in this room has a story. Everyone. And I think that's been something that's been incredibly important for us. How are we sharing that story? How are we doing the work that we need to do policy-wise in Lansing that can touch everyone from not only Detroit, but other communities across the state of Michigan? And know that we're going to continue this work because we know it doesn't end. It doesn't end it doesn't end for us, because our residents, our constituents deserve from Lansing to be treated well and to make sure that we have policies that are focused on them. So I just want to thank all of my colleagues that are here, Representative Farhat and Shannon being the lead bill sponsors, our Detroit caucus chair, Representative Young, who's just been leading the charge as well, Chair Whitmer, and know that we are going to continue to do more. We're going to continue to put people first. This is one good step, but we know that we're going to need more. So thank you all for having us. Thank you, Mayor Duggan, for having us. Thank you for the members of the City Council, and know that we're going to continue to work for you. So without further ado, we're going to bring up Councilmember Fred Durhall.
I'm not in the legislature anymore, so I get to say thank you, Mr. Speaker. But I wanted to say a sincere thank you to all of the folks who are standing up here today. Having served in the legislature prior, I can tell you today is groundbreaking because this is one of the biggest investments in public safety coming from Lansing that has ever happened. So, hats off to Speaker Joe Tate, our Appropriations Chair, Angela Whitwer. She holds the purse strings, and that's very significant because she's from another community. But she sees that it is important to invest in public safety in Detroit residents, so thank her. Three of the greatest, because they cross my district, Rep. Young, Rep. Farhat, and Senator Santana, and also Rep. Shannon, who has been a champion on many other issues. Let me tell you what this means to the residents of the city of Detroit, particularly our CVI groups. As the chair of the Gun Violence Task Force, which I co-chair with Council President and President Pro Tem Tate, one of the concerns from stakeholders are how are we going to continue to fund the great work that we're doing? And so in those conversations we were having, we said it's got to be something that's going to be a long-term plan. But the number one barrier always to long-term plans are generally funding. And so today, we get to push those initiatives forward. We get to expand some of the great work that we're doing here in the city of Detroit to decrease fatal and non-fatal shootings and ensure that our communities remain safer. Talking about safety, though, most importantly, you're only as safe as you feel. And residents put that sentiment out every single day when we have conversations with them. And to give you an idea of some of the work that our CVI groups are doing, and I got to give a special shout out to Deputy Mayor Todd Bettison, who is not here because he's connected with our CVI groups as well. They're starting to connect communities together, not just those who may be perpetrators, quote unquote, of violence, or folks who may be at risk. But they're connecting now our communities together. They're going to community associations. They're going to block clubs. They're getting engaged and bridging that necessary gap to ensure that everyone is on the same page and everyone wants to help keep our city safe. And so I am honored to be here today. I am glad. Thank you for sending that funding down, because it is really helping here in the city of Detroit. Groups like Force Detroit, Detroit's Friends and Family, Detroit 300, just great groups that do the work every single day, get into our neighborhoods, get in our community, and help drive those numbers down. So God bless you all. And without further ado, I have to state this is not my council district. This is actually Council President Mary Sheffield's district. But I would like to bring up a partner who has also helped us move CVI forward and helped us work to keep our streets safer, Council President Mary Sheffield.
Thank you, and welcome to District 5. Yes, yes. It is an honor to be here, and I echo pretty much everything that has already been stated. Thank you so much to all of you all. This truly has an impact here in the city of Detroit. I have long advocated for innovative solutions around gun violence here in our city and for community violence intervention. I always state that we cannot, as a community and as a city, police our way out of violence and gun violence. We can't do it. We understand that the law enforcement and the police department has its place, and we are investing in that responsibly, but we also have to address the human perspective, and that is the social issues that breed the crime in our community, and that is why I am so elated about CVI, because it does just that. It goes into the community, it connects residents with job training, education, mental health, and all of the social issues that breed the crime in our community. So I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. Typically, when you go into high crime areas, you only see the police department. That's the only resource that they get. But that has changed now with community violence intervention. We are flooding these communities with mentors and resources that are improving their quality of life. And I'll just say one thing. Last week, I think the mayor mentioned this. Actually, it was this week. I had the privilege of attending the CVI announcement for Motor City Match. And there was a young gentleman there who came through Forest Detroit. And this man was so proud of himself and where he was and the hope that I saw in his eyes. He walked around, he was doing selfies, and just to see that the city invested in his dream, he will now go out and be an ambassador in his community of what can be done. And I think at the end of the day, that is really what it's about, making sure that young people see the potential that lies within them, that we're investing in their dreams. And that, for me, was just like, my heart was full. This is what CVI is about, is grabbing these young men, investing in their dreams and their potential, and letting them know that we as a city have their back. So to everyone that was involved, thank you. It is directly impacting the residents here in Detroit. So God bless you and thank you. And I'm going to bring up Councilmember Waters, who everyone calls the quiet storm, but she's far from that, because she, if you know Member Waters, she is far from that, but advocate, and we just love Member Waters. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes up.
Thank you, Madam President, and I love you too. Let me just say thanks to you all. I appreciate the fact that you were up all night. You know, as a former state legislator, yes, I know. And so thank you so much on behalf of the city of Detroit. Since I represent the whole D, yes, so I thank you on behalf of everyone. Let me just first mention what I believe this is doing. This is a great initiative that will help move public safety beyond just enforcement and help support innovative programs that make us safer while making the community stronger. And I believe that my colleagues have echoed all of that a different way, but same thing. It builds on programs like Detroit's Community Violence Intervention Program that I was proud to support, which reduces violence while helping those in need access valuable resources. You heard Madam President say that. The resources this program brings will help us not only in Detroit, but also give much needed support to smaller communities to allow them to pilot similar public safety programs like CVI and Green Light. I remember how excited I was about Green Light and how senior citizens would approach me and say, we want Green Light. Ms. Waters, will you help us get Green Light? And so all of these things combined help all of us. And I just want to thank you all for all of the work that you're doing. And Mr. Mayor, I'm looking for the opportunity for our police department to have foot patrols. I am looking forward to that so that the people in the community can see their officers walking around in their communities. I know that will help us to deter crime. So foot patrols, CVI, all of these things working together are going to help all of us have a safer community. Thanks again, legislators. Thank you so much. It's so much appreciated. Thank you.
So I just want to say to our partners, it was President Kennedy who said, success has many parents and failure is an orphan. You see who's standing here. Nobody knew what was going to happen when we started this, but this is a tribute to you in your success. Everybody's standing behind you. And the story President Sheffield just told at the Motor City Match Award, this gentleman stood up, said he served several years in prison. While he was in prison, took culinary arts training, became an exceptionally good chef, came out, was working, said, I've got the talent to build my own restaurant, couldn't get a loan. Because of his felony record, he came through this program through a CVI partner, won on Motor City Match. He's taking a vacant building on the west side of Detroit and opening a business. This is the city we're trying to build. And so what we're saying today is for everyone out there who's thinking I can do this. We had 18 proposals the first time we did this. We had some good proposals that just missed being selected. But here's the deal. 3 to 4 square miles somewhere in the city, $175,000 a quarter we will pay you for an entire year for you to staff up and you to network into that community. You'll start October 1st. Bids will be out next week. So if you're interested, you know somebody, put together the teams, and let's expand this. Thank you all very much for those who made it possible.